Put your hands together.
There goes the neighborhood.
And welcome him to the stage. Big round of applause.
There goes the neighborhood.
Welcome back to the SmokeScreen podcast, episode 74.
Yes, sir.
Thought it was going to be our 75th anniversary.
Yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by Pfizer. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Pfizer.
I'm your host,
shit.
Mike Tyson.
Oh, look.
I was just going to bring up the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul thing. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, we got
I can't believe that's happening.
I can't either. I thought, is this real? I thought it was a joke, like everybody did.
We thought the Logan Paul Floyd was a joke.
Yes,
and
we
then
did.
it happened. And,
That's right.
You know,
I don't know, man. I don't know what to think. It's a lose-lose for everybody, I think.
I think so too.
It's very odd.
Yeah,
But
I'll be watching. I
oh,
can't help.
no,
I cannot
100%,
help,
100%.
You know,
Yeah, we'll have a get together that night. I got to see Iron Mike come out of retirement at 60 fucking years old. That's insane.
that is insane.
Anyway, anything before we get started? We got
I'm a homeowner.
That's right. Congrats, man! Officially, I've already told you this, but for the camera,
Yeah, closed on my house.
closed on your house, so it went through.
Yeah,
It's all over and done. The papers are signed, the I's are dotted, and the T's are crossed.
yes, they are.
And
I can't believe it.
you put it in a good perspective earlier. You said 20, was it 16? 20. You
Yes.
moved into my house
Yes.
when you said you called me the first day.
Hey, man, I'm blowing
When you
transmission
blow-
fluid
all
all
over-
over this minivan behind me.
That's right. And you'd pulled over in this guy's yard, spilling shit everywhere.
Everywhere.
And then I had to go get you moved
Because
in.
I was pissed when I left home and I stomped it when I
Yes.
came out on 152
Yes.
and fucking blew a hose off and was showering the people behind me. I was so embarrassed.
And now, everything's coming together.
Yeah,
Own place, officially.
it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild.
It's been a long 8 years, but
It has,
you
but
got
a
there.
quick 8 years as well.
it has.
It's
It's crazy, man.
So wild to think about.
It's
And,
crazy, this timeline.
You know, from sleeping on your couch and wow, to owning a home, just it's mind blowing. So and it has a lot to do with why I'm kind of ready to do what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
You know,
Big part of it, and I think this is important. I'll let you say everything you want to say, obviously,
Sure.
but I think this is important. I think it's a lot of people need to hear this story. It's a success story in some ways. It's and possible solutions and whatever, because everybody is affected by this in one way or the other.
right.
Everybody.
And if you remember,
Let's just say James gonna get personal.
yeah,
Tonight.
very.
So
very
this is a little
personal.
different, obviously we'll be laughing at some things. Obviously we are, everything's comedy.
Right.
But it's I'm glad you're doing it. And I'm just gonna listen and
And there were. Remember when we came back and started doing the podcast, and we were making jokes, and we said one day
yeah,
everybody will know why we're saying the things we're saying.
yeah, some of those inside jokes.
Yes.
And
And so now's the time. Now is the time where that happens, and people are going to kind of start putting pieces together and go, okay, now I see why they said that.
Right.
So
and real quick though,
Yeah.
just a friendly reminder for everybody, we do have overtime for
Yes.
channel members and Patreon. This is our separate podcast after this, and we record another 20-30 minutes. It's really a separate podcast.
yeah,
And it doesn't have to be necessarily about this topic. It's just kind of a exclusive thing for you guys. So if you want to support the channel, we really appreciate it. It's been doing really well with Shogun and all that stuff, and we did miss a couple weeks. And last week we were ready to record, and then we were getting too late and wanted to do this, but we want to be fresh for it because this is pretty important.
it just got a little late in the night.
Yeah,
and,
yep.
you know that this one is super personal. You'll understand that very quickly. I want to, and some of you people I know me, and I've shared some things with some people on the other side of this camera.
Right.
So I know some people know me, and I don't know if people talk to each other, and maybe more people than I'm aware of.
Right.
No, but I'm okay with that too. I don't mind that. I've always been an open book, especially on here.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So this is something I want to share. Like Chris said, everybody knows somebody, or they themselves have been affected by the opioid crisis.
Yeah.
And
Addiction in general. Yeah.
yeah, addiction in general.
Yeah.
And that's with me. It's been a huge part of my life. It's been a struggle, still a work in progress. As you can tell by the good news we just shared, I'm knock on wood. I'm on. A lot of that's in the rearview mirror for me.
Right. Right.
And I hope to share a lot of that with you guys, and maybe, just maybe, give a little hope to somebody, and educate some family members to try their best to be a little to maybe offer a little help, or just maybe ease up a little bit on somebody that they're dealing with.
Yeah, I think I think that's important to have this perspective, right? Because there's a stigma still to a degree, and I understand to some degree that, but it's not always that black and white. There's always nuance to everything, and you need this perspective to hear from to hear this perspective.
Yeah,
it's important.
I'll start by saying that I do come from a long line of addicts, and it just so happened in my family, the addiction was alcoholism. So I was always, afraid that if I pushed it too far, because when I was a younger man, we did a lot of drinking.
Oh yeah.
The reason I separated from the Navy had to do with alcohol.
Right.
And so it was always in the back of my mind that maybe one day I'm, going to struggle with alcoholism to a degree. Well, when I got married, I had 2 children, cruising along, doing fine in my career, and I hadn't become an alcoholic, so I thought, well, maybe that gene skipped me,
right?
The addiction gene, so to speak,
right?
And you and I were working together at Time Warner.
Yep.
And I just randomly one day woke up in excruciating pain. It was the worst pain I'd ever experienced in my life. I was hurting. It felt like somebody was shoving something right into the point of my shoulder, and the pain was radiating down my arm, probably to about mid forearm. My hand was on fire, and some fingers were numb. Now, no idea how this happened, what was going on with me, so we went to the doctor. Not the emergency room. We just went straight to my doctor's office and told him what was going on, called into work that day. And
yeah, you had changed teams at this point, right? You were on QA, I believe.
No. I was still in K-Town. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Is that okay?
Yeah, I forgot to do the
okay.
thing.
And so the doctor right there in their office, they did x-rays on me, and they couldn't tell what was wrong with me. They said they didn't see any breaks or anything. And so to what I'm assuming, I'm picturing, maybe with our job, we had these 28-foot extension ladders that we had to carry.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, and this still could be true, maybe I'm carrying it on my shoulder caught it on a tree or something, twisted funny. Maybe I stepped into a pothole in somebody's yard.
That happened a lot.
And twisted funny and screwed something up. But I had no idea, neither did they. But when I left, he gave me a prescription for the pain. And I remember being in the car with my wife, and she says, "What did they write you?"
Right.
And I said, and this is me being totally naive to any kind of pain pill. I said, it says Norco 5 milligram, which is hydrocodone, 5 milligram. She said, 5 milligram. That's what they gave me when I was 13 and had period cramps. I said, turn this fucking car around. Now,
Right.
I had this is probably, wow, Chris, 12 years ago. I don't know. I feel like I was about 38 years old, 39 maybe. It's hard for me to tell.
Yeah, it's the time is insane, man. Because what you think was like just a few years ago is actually 20 and shit.
Yes.
It's really weird when you get older.
So I'm thinking that because I'm thinking, you know, at what point in time was this? And I knew nothing about pain pills. When I was in the Navy, they cut out all 4 of my wisdom teeth.
Yeah.
They gave me a Tylenol with codeine and Motrin.
Right.
And so after the first day, I was literally only on Motrin for 4 wisdom teeth that hadn't even broken the skin yet. So it was a pretty tough surgery, especially the way they did it in the Navy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They kept me awake, and they were teaching somebody how to do the surgery.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was super rough.
You got to get the medical student.
I could
That's
feel
nice.
it. And they didn't believe me that I could feel them cutting my gums. And so I felt like they, out of spite, really put a bunch of injections in my face. And
Feel like
so,
it swells. So,
oh my God, it was terrible. And so anyway,
well, for the timeline, right? 2008. It's when I closed the school, the dojo, and went to Time Warner.
that's when I started, was 08.
So
Yep,
I had
December.
started about a year before you, maybe something, and worked
but
there
this was-
almost 6.
This was December of 08 is when I started there. And I would say I had been there maybe about a year when this happened. This is the way I'm guessing. So this
Something like
could
that.
have been around 2010, 10 to 12. It was 12 is when I got the funnel cake. So
Yeah.
this was definitely before that.
Yeah,
I
so
dealt
you're
with
talking about
this for about a
14.
good year or more at Time Warner. So I'm going to say this was about 2010 is when this happened. And when I told her to turn the car around, I went back in there and I was yelling. And I never dreamed that they might think, oh my God, this guy's just wanting pain pills or anything.
Right.
I didn't care. I just wanted the pain to go away, and I wanted something that would work quick. So I said, listen, my wife just told me they gave her this for period cramps. Maybe he didn't understand that I said this was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life.
Right.
And I mean, I'm yelling, right? They would not let me back there. And the whole waiting room is watching.
Right.
Next thing you know, they came and cracked the door open and slid a new prescription out to me. And they bumped them up to 10 milligrams.
Okay. The 10 milligrams.
So I went, got that filled, and it helped, right? It did.
Right.
And that is something that I always emphasize when I talk about pain pills is the sucky thing about them is they do work.
Yeah.
They will give you relief. And that's all I needed at the time because I couldn't be out of work. Although I ended up being out of work quite a bit with this because as you're getting ready to hear, this process, they still never put a finger on why I was hurting. They were just writing me prescriptions.
Right.
So I was able to go back to work, still had numbness in my hand. And they noticed, because I kept trying to go back to the doctor and say, "What's up? Let's figure this out." They'd found like a fatty tumor right here on my shoulder, and they were saying maybe that tumor was pushing on a nerve,
Right.
causing this radiating pain down my arm. So they scheduled a surgery to get that removed. I went there to the surgeon. Surgeon said, "This is not that. This is not doing that.
Right.
But I can still remove it if you want it removed for cosmetic reasons." And I was like, "Sure." Because he said it's only going to get bigger. Like
Right.
at the time, it wasn't really noticeable.
Right.
But he's like, for cosmetic reasons, because down the road it's just going to.
That's what's going on here.
And-
I got one like
Yeah,
like
they will cut that bitch off.
24 by 12. It's huge, man. It's just gotten. I got to get it taken care of. I know that's what it is. I'm sorry.
No, they will cut it off for sure.
For cosmetic reasons,
Yes.
right? Okay.
And
cool.
so I went through with that surgery.
Right.
And, you know, when you're recovering from that surgery, like they keep the pain pill train rolling, especially back then. So I'm going to say this went on for about 2 years before I was ever given an MRI.
Right.
So in 2 years, as you can imagine, you build up a tolerance to these opiates. You
Right.
start needing more to get the same relief. And the doctors would back then write you more. Right? They're either going to increase the milligrams or the number of tablets they give you.
Right.
Well, since most of those, what I would call starter opiates, they are, they have Tylenol in them as well. And so when they write you so many tablets a day, they realize that the Tylenol in them can damage your liver.
Right.
So pretty soon they're going to not increase that number anymore. They're going to put you on a stronger pill that doesn't have Tylenol in it.
Right.
So where your Norco is hydrocodone and Percocet or Vicodin or whatever is oxycodone, and it's mixed with Tylenol, you can get put on just what they call Roxy's, which is oxycodone with no Tylenol in it. And then you can get put on OxyContin, which is honestly what they say is the biggest part of the opioid epidemic. What really set it off were those OxyContin 80 milligrams. And
that was the shirt we were talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the stuffed animal.
Yes.
And the little
that's
plush
right.
toy.
Yeah, the toy.
And so they'll give you like a OxyContin, or I was prescribed Hydrocontin, but you don't hear many people talk about that. It worked okay, but the Contin is for continuous release in your system. So it's supposed to have this coating on there
Right.
that allows it to deliver, just a little at a time. You're not getting 80 milligrams at one shot.
Right.
And so it's a long lasting opiate. And then what they'll do is they will give you another prescription of, say, Percocet or Norco for breakthrough pain is what they call it, throughout the day.
Right.
So at some point, I was taking 2 OxyContin 80s a day, and they were still giving me, I think, four Percocet or 8 Percocet a day. I can't remember, but it was pretty much, you literally just would go back to the doctor and say, this isn't working anymore.
Right.
And
you don't know what's happening.
Right.
Really, you're not thinking about why.
Right. I just thought the pain, I was like, whatever this injury was getting more severe is what I was thinking.
Right.
I was so naive to this. So finally, let's even go up prior to, I'm still have not received an MRI. None of these doctors. Now, and believe me, I know that everybody pretty much is an expert in pain management now.
Yeah.
But back then,
right.
there there was only kind of people that you thought were shady people, that seemed to be closet pharmacists or shade tree pharmacists and knew all this stuff.
Right.
But nobody ran in my circles or anything were saying any of this stuff. I think America as a whole has become educated over the last 10 years. And I remember I would run out of my prescription a few days before the end of the month. My wife, she would sit in the doctor's office with me and she would tell them, this is what he's experiencing. This is what he's experiencing. And she was right there with me. Like, these have stopped working. Like, I would get out of bed in the morning and I would be like an old man. And, until I got my pills in me.
Right.
And then when I did,
like morning coffee.
Yes. I could get up, could loosen up. I could go to work and didn't realize like the ridiculous amount of these opiates I was putting in my body, and didn't realize at the time that my body was just totally adapting to these things and creating more receptors or whatever. So I needed more to feel those new receptors. And I'm nowhere near an expert, but I think that's how it works. And, so when I would run out, maybe I would always try to find some, a family member might have some. Hey, can I get a couple pills to get by till my prescription? And I remember laying in my floor, in the living room floor. Just, how you do sometimes. You'll lay down there on a throw pillow and watch TV or something.
Yep.
I remember my legs jerking. And they would do this at night sometimes too. And just could not get comfortable. And I remember my wife being with me at the doctor and me bringing that up. And them writing me another prescription for like this antispasmodic pill or something. Like, anyway, I read on there, like, sometimes it was written to treat Parkinson's and shit. So I'm like, holy fuck. I thought I had like restless leg syndrome or something. And I was so naive. I did not realize that I was withdrawing. That was some of my withdrawal symptoms were these leg convulsions and cramps, and you couldn't feel like you just could not get comfortable. And how long did I take those pills, those Parkinson's pills? I don't know, man. A year maybe. I'm telling you, when the day came that, because the running out early started happening way more frequently.
Right. So that means you were taking more than the allotted.
More than, say, 2 OxyContin 80s and 4 or 8 Percocets a day. I would take more than that and run out. And you always knew in the back of your mind.
Right,
like if you take that one extra,
that's right.
You're going to be one short. But you could justify it. Every time you would justify it. I really need it. Hopefully I'll have a better day down the road and I can take less.
I can take less
That's
next day.
such a lost cause.
Yeah.
Once it becomes so engraved in your daily routine, you cannot. It's so hard. Not saying he can't, but it's so hard. So, again, I never dreamed I had an issue. I always dreamed that one day the doctor's going to find out why I'm hurting, fix me, and these will be just this little time frame in my life where I had to take pain pills every day.
Right.
And I was in the neurosurgery and spine clinic, and they finally did an MRI. And
Yeah, just what took so long?
I don't know,
Yeah,
because we had great insurance,
right.
and I was always seeing the doctor and hurting, and you know what I mean. Like they knew what was up, and numb fingers. I just like I don't get it.
Right.
Again, I don't know why, but I do feel like it was a time when I think everybody, even the medical community, was a little naive. And,
Yeah, probably.
You
Sure.
know, because for years, our grandparents and parents, they could get written pain pills for nothing, you know?
Right.
It's no big worry. So this doctor comes in and says, the surgeon says, son, you need surgery.
Right.
Between C5 and C6 and C6 and C7, those discs in there are destroyed. And there's a piece of one of these discs that's touching that nerve. And I'm like, well, why in the hell? Like now it started hurting all around my shoulder blade and all down my arm. And he showed me this chart of our nerves, and literally the nerves run down around your shoulder blade, and everywhere where I could see that nerve,
Right.
it hurt, and it hurt terribly. And I remember crying. He said, I'm going to give you a cervical fusion and fuse C5, 6, and 7 into one disc, vertebrae, I mean. And I started crying because by this time, I started thinking that everybody around me thought I just liked pain pills and made all this up.
Right.
This was validation. This was a surgeon saying,
Yeah.
You're messed up. And so he scheduled me for the surgery, and they cut me in the front right here. They went in there and they didn't use sometimes they use cadaver discs. They used to in the past. I think mine are man-made, and then they put this titanium mesh plate over the front and 2 screws in each vertebrae. So there's like, I've got 6 titanium screws in my neck. It's basically the same exact surgery Peyton Manning had during his career when he missed that one season. And so post-surgery, right, I wake up, I can feel different. I can tell.
Yeah.
I can tell that whatever he did helped.
Yeah,
The
it should be pretty
numbness was-
immediate with
yeah.
the nerve not being,
The numbness was still there. Now I'm just really sore from like the surgery site and everything. So they still keep you on pills, right? And your my what do you call it? My primary, he was happy to push me off on the surgeon, right? Let him take over the pain management because he's the expert and everything. So he stopped writing my medicine. The surgeon has this timeline of when I should be good. He tapered me down and said, "You're done."
Right.
And that is when I realized I had a problem. So from the moment I woke up hurting
That's what I was gonna say. Go ahead.
until maybe I think I got the second refill after surgery, but it was for less, and it was the last one.
Right.
He was not writing anymore. You're going to go to physical therapy. You're good. Well, that was a nightmare, because I'm telling you, it was a good 2 solid years of my life of taking a tremendous amount of these every day of my life and needing them every day of my life. Now, I will say this. You know, you and I were hanging out during this time.
Yeah.
All right. And I brought this up to you the other day. Do you remember when we started our poker league? It started playing phase 10.
Yeah.
And then we said, let's play Texas Hold'em.
Yeah.
And then next
went
thing
from
you know,
Guitar Hero and shit and
Yeah.
phase 10 card games to poker, and started the whole damn league.
and pretty much every time we would get together to play cards, I would drink some beer, mixed drink or something, and pretty soon I stopped drinking. I mean, like, the pills is all I needed. They were my fix-all for everything.
Right.
For, you know, energy. They gave me energy at work. I felt like a new man almost when I took these things. Any desire to catch a buzz by drinking or anything, that was gone. I didn't need it.
Right.
You know, I just felt really freaking good. And nobody, my wife, she even has talked to doctors and said, look, I've never seen this man screwed up, like fucked up. I never have. Because I had built a tolerance as I went. So even though I was taking incredible amounts, I never got screwed up. I felt comfortable driving.
Yeah.
At work, I could climb ladders and, you know, get on roofs, go in attics, go in crawl spaces, do whatever it took. Never felt screwed up at all. I knew when I didn't have them. You know, I did feel more, you know, just weaker, lower energy, things like that. So I guess what I'm getting at is, don't get me wrong. I did like the feeling they gave me.
Yeah.
But it was never a, you know, oh, well, we're really fucked up now. You know, nothing like that. It was just this is what I felt like 10 years ago, man. It feels good to feel this way, you know?
Right. Yeah. No,
And,
I mean,
no
I think,
aches and pains, no, you know.
I think that's important. I mean, because people think of addiction and pills and all this stuff with, like, people going out and getting high and looking for pills. It starts this way, I would imagine, for a lot of people. I mean,
no doubt.
You know, you get hurt at work, you go to a doctor, and they're just passing you pills.
And I believe they're hoping that whatever this ailment is, if they can't pinpoint it and fix it,
Right.
it'll just go away. You know, who knows? Maybe I can't, you know, identify it, but I know these will allow you to
live your life
comfortably for a little while.
Right.
And so I don't harbor a lot of resentment towards the doctors. And, you know, I will touch on the doctors a little more as I go, but I just wanted to point out that taking them was never a chore. Like I did.
Yeah.
I got to the point where when I speak of my addiction, and I'll hold off on this because I'm not going to forget it. I'll remember it. But I'll fast forward a little bit. So I had that first surgery. Went okay. It went really well. What am I saying? It did.
Right.
But what I did not realize, now I did have to have a lumbar surgery as well. I don't know if you remember that, but now all of a sudden I started having sciatica down my leg. That one was identified a lot quicker. Very similar, but it was this time instead of the arm, it was the leg.
Right.
And I went and got an MRI quick this time because I've already been through this. So he said that the sciatic nerve kind of goes through this little area. It's like a hole.
Yeah, it's like a
that
hole
it
in
passes through the pelvis somewhere.
It's a weird design.
And it was touching the edge, and just that nerve laying on the edge of that bone hole,
It is.
freaking makes radiating pain that's that hard to live with. So put a little incision about that big down there, and they just kind of shaved around the bone right there to make the hole bigger.
Right.
Now it didn't touch. That surgery worked perfectly. But it did get me some more prescriptions.
Right.
You see?
Yeah.
Same thing. Once they know that you should feel better, surgeons will not write them anymore. Maybe they used to, but at this point in the game,
Yeah.
you started hearing it was really the opioid pandemic.
Yeah, it started,
So
becoming a thing.
it did. And so I remember I was at a fair and in Charleston. And I was at this point now where I was no longer getting prescriptions. I think I should interject this here. No matter how good a person you are, no matter how clean life you live and what circles you run in, when you find that you need pain pills, you start, you start knowing who you can get them from, and it starts becoming more easy and less embarrassing to reach out and say, hey, you got any of those whatevers?
Right.
And then you tend to find that you do things that are just so outside of your nature. I mean, you find that you lie, and what I mean by that is you got to go meet this person to pick up whatever you're buying.
Right.
Well, when you're married, first off,
Right.
your time
Yeah.
is being tracked.
Yeah.
I mean, time away from home,
Yeah.
All right. So then also the money that you're using to buy these things is being noticed. And you find that because you have this problem, you're embarrassed.
Right.
Look, I shouldn't be spending this money. But you justify it in your mind. You're like, if I don't get these, though, I won't be able to work. I definitely won't be able to work well.
Right.
And so if I can't work, what's worse? What the outcome will be of me not working, or me taking a little bit of this money that I earned working,
Right,
and buy these things that will allow.
Yeah,
this.
you still
So
got to be you're still the provider and all
Yeah,
this stuff. I mean,
right.
Yeah. Still got to be dad and everything else.
So you find yourself, and I know that if there's anybody out there that ever watches this, they will totally understand what I'm saying when I say this. You find yourself waiting in a parking lot somewhere,
Right.
for hours with somebody on the other end who's just on the other end of the phone, at the other end of the deal, who's just, their time's not as valuable as yours. They're lying. You know what I mean? They're giving you this runaround. I don't know what the deal is, if they're just trying to create a more heightened demand by stringing you along longer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
you will find yourself, and then you're like, shit, I'm getting a call like, where you at? I thought you were going to be home an hour ago,
Right.
2 hours ago.
Right.
And it creates, you have to make up a lie that then stretches into another lie, or, you just never, I don't know. You feel so guilty and dirty, and it's not me.
That's what I was going to say. So you're kind of like, I can't believe you, I guess in that mindset, I can't believe that I'm sitting here doing this thing to get these fucking pills.
Yes.
I'm meeting this shady character, and this is stuff you see on TV or movies or, that type of thing. And here I am.
Because what'll happen is, if your normal go-to phone call, say that person is out.
Right.
Well, you're going to have a follow-up question. Do you know anybody that might?
Yeah.
Well, let me check. So now you're like, oh shit, hopefully they come through. Well, I got this one friend. He said, if you'll meet him over so-and-so, he'll be driving a red Camaro or whatever. And you don't know this guy from whatever, but you trust this person. And then it just turns out, I mean, you're getting these numbers stored in your phone because so then you can just bypass your one contact, and you're trying to build this portfolio of numbers to call, because God forbid you ever run out. That is what you're afraid of.
That starts to be like everything you do, anywhere you go, that's the priority.
And what I did not realize, because I had a lot of friends, I had a lot of connections. Like, there are people who, and I was open during the time, remember, I wouldn't hide the fact that I'd be like, at the poker table, I'd be like, whoop, time for a pain pill. It just wasn't something I was ashamed of, because I was hurting. The doctor wrote them. Right. Well, next thing you know, when the doctor stops writing them, now it's a whole different ball game. But I had been, up until this point at the fair in Charleston, I'd been very successful in not running out and walking that tightrope. But when I was down there, we had this chance we drove home from Charleston to get some Roxy 30s. It was a done deal. We knew they were there. They were actually the guy I was with at the fair. It was his prescription. So I knew it was legit.
Right.
So we drove 6 hours home?
At least, yeah.
I dropped him off at his house, went home for just a couple seconds, say hey to the family, came back, made up a reason that we came home.
Right.
I damn sure would never said we came home to get these people.
Right, that's what I was going to say.
And what had happened was...
Yeah, to be clear, he's saying we, not me.
No, not him.
Yeah,
me and the other guy that was working with me at this fair. And I dropped him off, and I left, came home, saw my family for a second, came back, couldn't wait to get back to pick him up, right? Because I knew he had his medicine.
Had the goods.
Well, what happened was because he had to leave some there with his wife, take some for us, he put them in an old pill bottle he had. What he didn't realize was his stepson was such an addict that he had taken all of his old pill bottles and put water in them and shook them up, trying to get any dust out of them.
God.
So there was some kind of water residue in there. And those Roxy 30s blew up. They puffed up and fell apart.
Oh, hell.
So basically we had this crumbled mess, and he divvied out half the powder to me and half to him. And it was like those fun sticks. Remember when you got the powder in the pack? And I didn't know how much I was taking, right?
Right.
Because normally you have a pill. It tells you how many milligrams are on there. You know what you normally take. So it was all guesswork at the time. Well, I went through that powder really freaking fast.
Right.
And I'm telling you, this was so many years into my journey. And I had never, until that moment, went into full-blown withdrawals. Never. I did.
So you're saying after you got this,
after I ran out of that powder.
the powder, right,
Yep,
okay.
it was supposed to last me the rest of this fair.
Right. How long? Yeah. How? Just out of curiosity, how many more days and how long did that last?
It was an 11-day fair. I probably made it to about 3 days to go.
Okay.
And then ran out, and I could not stay in, like my arms and legs were just flailing. The little shit I was talking about with the doctor and restless leg syndrome, nothing.
No,
that was nothing.
Nothing.
By this time, my habit, or whatever you want to call it, tolerance had gotten so huge. I was such a different person withdrawing then as I was prior to that. And I was crying. I was like pooping like crazy and sweating and arms and legs and just sick as a dog. And
at this fair,
in my hotel room,
right?
And the guy's like, "You're withdrawing. When's the last time you've had anything?" And I was like, 2 days ago or whatever it was. And he was like, "You're withdrawing." And so we went on a mission to find some more stuff. And I mean, it's terrible. It's a terrible, terrible lifetime.
What about him?
He, different animal.
Okay.
Totally different animal than me. Yeah. It's pretty wild.
His powder lasted long.
Yeah.
It lasted him. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Or didn't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or he was lying.
Yeah.
There's another part. There's another layer to the onion.
Right.
People you deal with are not going to be honest about what they've got because they don't want to run out either.
That's right.
So when I got half of these wet pills, that could have been a whole plan they set up. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
There's no telling. And
you might not have had any. It was a placebo for a while.
Yeah.
you might have had some. I don't know.
So I know what people are thinking out there, and I'm telling you, believe it or not, 5 years into this, and I am still just a pill popper. Still, the only way I've ever taken any kind of opiate was just orally swallowing it.
Yeah.
And I know they're wondering that if they have any education about opiate addiction. I was just a pill popper at this time. And
yeah, no, I think this is, for people who they need to hear this. I mean, this is important because you hear about it and you don't really, it don't affect me. Maybe you know somebody, but don't really, or somebody in your family that you don't really talk to. But they need to hear these gritty details of how this works and what goes through your mind and your perspective. And it's not like this is something you enjoy doing. And it's, you, like you said yourself, you felt dirty or grimy or, like a piece of shit or whatever you want to describe it as. And so people need to understand that this is not something that's like, oh yeah, no, I'm cool. No, you're not happy with yourself. I mean, and you didn't go out seeking this shit to start it. It was an injury.
Absolutely.
That's the key.
100%.
This happens to a lot of people.
I had been at parties when
Yeah.
people had said, "Hey, do you want one of these? What is it? A pain pill?" I'm not hurting.
No.
Why would I take a pain pill?
No.
No. I never recreationally took a pain pill in my
That's
life.
a very important distinction. Is needs to be said.
And I'll also tell you another embarrassingly low point, which at the time was the lowest point of my addiction. We were at a laundromat, same fare, and this was prior to the trip to come up and get those.
Oh, same trip,
Same
yeah,
same
same
fare,
fare, same
but
year. Yeah.
before we did that 6-hour drive, we were down there with like, oh my God, we got to get something, you know. Still got some days to wait till my prescription comes in back home, and so I'm at a laundromat, and I'm watching people come in, sizing them up,
Right.
like who looks like
Yeah.
somebody that I have done business with in the past. And I remember this young woman, young girl, whatever you want to call it. She was there, and she looked the part, and she left, and I was like, "Fuck! I should have asked her."
Right.
Like, I know she's probably got something in her pocketbook, or she definitely knows somebody that would sell me something, because I had a pocket full of money.
Yeah.
I just needed that, and only needed it to work a fair. Like,
Yeah,
I'm like gonna lay up in a hotel room,
Right.
just,
That's
and get high and watch TV. I needed something to work, and also I didn't want to feel like shit.
yeah.
So this was before I'd ever felt full-blown withdrawal.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize how bad I needed it, because I didn't want to be that deathly sick. But I knew I would start feeling like crap.
Right.
So
I think that's important to emphasize. This is just to get by.
yeah.
This is not
and
like
that's
in
a hand to God thing.
Yeah,
I promise.
Yeah.
And as I'm sitting there bummed out, and you get anxiety that builds up, because you at this time you might be nursing your last pill or two, and you can only break it so many times, and
Right.
so she came back. She must have like left her laundry there to do something,
Right.
and left and came back. When she came back, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this was meant to be. God has put her in my plan, in my path,
Right.
to keep me from losing my job. And so I walked up to this stranger and said to her that I was looking for some pain pills. Did she know anybody? Did she have anything or anybody that, had plenty of money, hook her up, bird dog fee. if she didn't have them and she found them, I would hook her up too. I could tell she was so fucking offended.
Right.
Oh my God. I felt so terrible.
Yeah.
And it's funny to talk about now.
Yeah.
But I mean, at that moment, I felt like, James, you've got to get your shit together. That was the worst thing. How could you do that? Like the fucking depth of this problem you've got causing you to say something to somebody like that. And who knows? She could have been lying. She could have just been scared,
Yeah.
that some stranger says I'm in town working the fair, Because me, I'm so honest with everybody. I'm a carny.
Yeah.
At a random laundromat looking for pain pills.
Right.
She probably thought as soon as she opened her purse, I'd just run off with it,
Right. Yeah.
But no,
What do you remember? What she
how
said?
naive I am. I think people are, for the most part, good people.
Yeah.
Like me. I wouldn't screw anybody over, even at my worst.
What did she say? You remember?
She said, I don't fuck with that shit, and like had this attitude, and it was like,
how dare you ask me type of thing.
Yeah. And I'm telling you though, I know for a fact that she either has in the past or has somebody that she knew who did, and like it really bothered her.
Yeah, because she said, I don't fuck with that shit.
Yeah, like I broke a scab off or something, and I felt so bad.
Right.
And so then you continue in this fair. I go through that withdrawal thing, and I'm like, I don't ever want to go through this again. I got to do something with my life. But it's always tomorrow, you know.
Yeah.
I'm always gonna do it. And, yeah, but I didn't know how. Like I really didn't know how to get help. There's a lot of shame involved in it. And as much as I'm an open book, I mean, to admit that there's a problem after so many years of trying to convince people I didn't have a problem.
Right.
That's a hell of a step to take, and you got to really swallow your pride. So I had never even hardly researched anything to try. Like, what if when that day comes, you know, I didn't even know how to take a step to get help. So, and deep down, I really didn't think I needed it. And that's another terrible thing about this addiction, because I want to say this, and this is something that I truly believe. I could be wrong. There could be, you know, research out there that says that this is a bunch of horse shit, what I'm about to say. But I believe with all my heart that, because what is pain? It's a signal, right?
Yep.
And I feel like my brain, the addict brain, makes you hurt.
Oh,
and so you will feed the monster.
Yeah.
Right? So
I believe that. Absolutely.
Because all it has to do is send a signal that makes you hurt, or say that it received a signal, however you want to view that. But that makes pain real, right?
Oh, yeah.
If your brain says you're hurting, you are fucking hurting. And that's what I couldn't understand. I was never faking. I was really hurting. And when I woke up those days and was walking all hunched over and hurting, that was real. That was never me putting on a show. I really was hurting so bad.
Well, think about things like anxiety, you know, that I've dealt with my whole life. I mean, it creates these things that are real. You know, people say it's just in your head, but, you know, heart palpitations are not.
Correct.
You know, if you, for example, my stepdad, you have a limb removed, you have phantom pain that's not even there.
That's a great
So
point.
those are absolutely,
yes.
That's absolutely what happens.
And so, yeah, I believe, like, I really hurt all the time. And I believe your brain is your biggest enemy in this, and in addiction, because it's also there. It's almost like those cartoons with the angel and the devil on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Well, that's really, you know, that's just your brain going, you don't have a problem. Everybody's assholes.
Yeah.
You know, they're saying all this shit about you. They don't know what you go through. That, you know what I mean? And you build up this freaking, I don't know, this callous.
Yeah, right.
And you know, you can just drown it out, and you ignore all the people that you used to really value their opinion. But when their opinion is about you and the things you're doing wrong over and over and over again, even if it's delivered in the nicest way, who wants to feel like shit about themselves all the time?
Right.
You already do as an addict. And that's one of the points I would like to make to people is you can never say anything to an addict that they don't feel,
They haven't said
and
themselves.
way worse about themselves. But that doesn't mean that your words still, don't hurt. And there's looks you can give somebody that can cut them to the core, and you may not even realize you're giving that look. And doesn't mean that the person who's been affected by an addict, that their feelings aren't valid. They are. But that addict is on a path that is so dangerous. And that's where I want to get to in this, is all that I was experiencing was during a time before you couldn't trust everything out there. Like now you can't trust anything you buy on the street.
Oh, hell no.
Like I was not worried back then that I was going to die. If I was going to get, this pill that looked like a legit pill, but was pressed in somebody's basement with a
Right.
a peel press. And so to make a long story longer, I'm about I don't even know, 6 years into this thing, and it's totally consumed every part of my life. Every decision I made had to somehow be made around this problem I had.
Not running out.
Yeah. Not running out. Never running out. But you think if you got that mentality, you'd be able to hoard some. You'd be able to stretch this interval in between.
Right.
But you get this full bottle syndrome.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I get to actually take, a little bit more now and reward myself for how long I went without them before,
Right.
And that's dumb.
Yeah. Right.
Because I do say, and I stand by it, I never took them to get fucked up.
Right.
But I did like the way they made me feel.
Yeah.
As far as energy and the youthfulness and the lack of worrying. Because at the same time, I'm dealing with this, whether the two went together or not, my family was going through some rough stuff, losing a house that should have been ours. There were some deals made that, caused some things to fall out. And so now, I don't know, again, causation, I mean, I don't know. And I don't,
It's that
I do
fucking,
speculate on it all the time.
It's that fucking, just real quick, it's that fucking furniture that did it, that I helped with.
It did.
I guarantee
I
it.
know that's what it is.
I mean, that dude, that shit was of the devil right there.
And that honestly, when I have to look back and pinpoint how did I injure myself?
Yeah.
That's it.
It has to be, dude. That was God.
We were asked to move some furniture for my aunt and uncle.
Yes.
That I promise you
that
Egyptian slaves would have struggled.
I'm telling you right now, I ain't never seen a damn headboard as big and giant and dark and evil.
The most dense, solid, heavy wood. Their dresser was made of the same wood and then had marble on top of it.
It was absolutely insane.
And you pick it up and you couldn't really lift with your legs good because your legs had to be in a weird position to be able to lift it. And then you had to come off the back of the truck and duck down with it underneath the thing and then walk low. And I swear I believe that's how
I would, no doubt. I bet I don't remember. I bet I didn't do that fucking jump and flip off that truck before that or after that.
After that. You did it before.
I did it before.
Yep.
Not after that.
Yep. Off the top of the
I was still
U-Haul truck.
I was still nimble then.
I know.
I was still nimble in martial arts
that
mode.
Blew everybody's mind. I was like, did you see him jump off of that damn thing?
I got up there to hook up the cable. Right. That's what it
That
was.
was funny.
I know.
No ladder, no problem.
No
Let's
ladder?
just drive the U-Haul right up under the tap.
And Chris climbs on the U-Haul, hooks up the tap, and just jumps off the truck.
But that they moved that on their own, like in their room. Say they wanted to rearrange their bedroom.
Yeah.
They moved it on like sawed-off broomsticks, where they could roll it and then take it and put it in the front,
just
and
like the
push it.
Egyptians on the
Yes,
fucking block of the pyramid.
like it
dude.
was that heavy, and
It was
we
absolutely
had to
insane.
move it. Oh my God, it was the worst. And you're right. I'm glad you reminded me of that, because if I had to pinpoint it, that's
Yeah.
what did it.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt.
It totally destroyed my neck. And,
That's probably what started this hernia that's poking out here. Now I need
would
to get
not
fixed.
doubt it. And they never wanted to talk about it,
No.
because they were terrified of their homeowners getting hit.
Oh, my God.
I mean, I know them so well. I know that that's what they were worried about.
Probably.
'Cause
Anyway, I'm sorry.
I just tried joking with them about it, you know,
Yeah.
and they didn't even want to talk about it.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So,
Jesus.
so yeah, my family was struggling, and I was trying to do everything I could to just, you know, stay on the front line. And for me, that involved, I needed these pills. And I believed it with all my heart. You know, I knew I was hurting, the pain, because after the surgeries, then that's when I still hurt. No doctor told me that my brain was making me hurt. This is me after the fact. At the time, the doctors were like, "Oh, it's just arthritis at the surgery site. Happens all the time.
Yeah.
There's not a surgery for arthritis.
Right.
You just got to deal with the pain." And you could still get pain medicine, but you had to go to a pain clinic.
Yeah.
And then at the pain clinic, every time you go, you have to give them urine. And
Yeah.
the pain clinic was no different for me.
Because at this point, like you said, the opioid thing has started, and everybody's now looking for, you know, pill hunters or whatever the term
Yes,
is.
yep,
People
yep,
going
pill
for
seekers,
pill
yep.
seekers,
Mm-hmm.
going for faking, and a lot of people I'm sure did. I
Yeah.
mean, clearly that's what started it. But yeah, they're going making up things, and you can't really prove something's not hurting.
That's right.
You can't, you know.
And the whole waiting room is a room full of zombies.
Right.
Because most of the time, these doctors, when they prescribe pain medicine, they prescribe nerve pills. And there is nothing worse than somebody taking a bunch of benzos and it makes them just nod out right in the middle of talking. So if you ever see anybody slow blinking like this, they're on nerve pills and they have a problem taking too much.
Yeah.
And I feel for them, because my mom, before she passed away, she told me that that nerve pills was harder to get off of than pain pills for her. So I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Me personally, never went down that road, thank goodness. And because if I have this personality that I have, where I end up taking more than I would be one of those people. I remember we took Mom and Larry to Hibachi.
Yeah.
Now you got this 3 feet flames going off the damn thing, right? And they're sitting there with forks like this. Falling asleep.
Right.
He's chopping.
Right.
And they're like,
Jesus.
so embarrassing.
You're
The kids, everything, they were like, "What's wrong with my like, she's sleepy. She's sleepy."
Oh shit.
But yeah, man.
Yeah, you know, a couple of times, a couple of our conversations after all this came out, you educated me a little bit on some of that stuff, you can kind of spot some of these things with what. Anyway, I don't want to interrupt your story.
No, you can.
Did you kind of spot a little bit like?
Yeah, itchy noses.
Yeah.
Opiates. I don't know. They
Sinuses.
cause it. Yeah, sinuses. And it's still getting to that.
Yeah,
I still
yeah.
got to get to that point.
Yeah, I know.
So-
I'm sorry. I'm not going to fuck you.
That's
flow
what I
up.
was trying to say was I was having family problems
Right.
because of financial problems and things like that. And again, it could probably be, you know, the result of my problem. It really could. That little bit of money I would have to come up with. Because I'm not the kind of guy, you know, a lot of people, they pawn shit, they sell shit, they steal stuff and sell it. That was not me. I'm going to use my money to buy this stuff that I needed, you know, and so I probably hurt our finances pretty bad and probably definitely hit it.
Yeah. So for the average person that doesn't know, what does one of these things cost? At least in those days,
It's a good question.
I don't know.
Okay, so in my time and in this area, you could get a Norco, which is a hydrocodone 10 milligram at the time for like $5.
Right.
Okay. And those are I don't know if you call it gateway or like the tic tac of, you know, of the peel game.
Yeah.
It's like they're there
That's
to
the
keep
baby
you from
step.
withdrawing.
Yeah, that's the baby step.
That's all.
Okay.
And,
Because I don't know these names besides a couple.
so yeah,
you know.
then you got like the Percocets, which is the oxycodone 10 milligram. Well, they come in lower than that. I hate to start at 10, but you can get 5, 7.5, 10.
Right.
And those would run, so a 5 milligram for $5. You see, you can almost get $1 a milligram for those.
Damn.
So then, an 80 milligram OxyContin, $80 damn.
Jesus Christ.
So that's a lot of money for one pill. And
And you're taking multiple a day.
yes,
I mean, Jesus.
and then you have these drugs that are just not as prevalent. You've heard of Dilaudid. They give you that in the hospital with a little button.
Oh, yeah,
when
yeah,
you
yeah.
have
yeah,
a
yeah,
surgery
yeah, yeah. No, it's just- yeah,
intravenously. That is called hydromorphone. And then you have Opana, which is oxymorphone. Opana, to me, now you can get Dilaudid in a pill form. It doesn't work. It never worked for me taking it orally. And so I had like a whole bottle of them that I let go for like $1 a pill. But what you hear is intravenously, for the people who actually crush them up and shoot them up, they're good. But honestly, the Opana, the oxymorphone, just for a pill popper like I was, that pill, even after I had an addiction and built up a tolerance, one of those felt like the first time you ever took a pain pill. Yeah, those were strong, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine somebody without a tolerance taking one of those. But those were like a $40 pill. So
Damn.
how often do you think I've had one in my life?
Yeah.
You know, not often. Because I still tried to be dad. I tried to do right.
Right.
But yeah, dude, these they're all out there. They're all, once you're in this weird world where people are opening up about this stuff, it's like this person tells you this and this person tells you that and how to do this and how to do that. And I mean, it is the weirdest world. And you wake up one day and you're like, what am I doing? I'm the guy who likes music, sports stats.
Right.
Why am I researching, you know, all these chemicals and and having these conversations with people about them? And it's so weird, man. I'm the guy who hides cigarette smoking
Yeah.
from his wife.
That's right.
You know,
That's
the simple ass shit. Why am I doing this stuff? The worst thing that happened was getting the funnel cake business, because then I had the money.
Yes.
Because it was all cash. I had the money to hide from my wife, right? If she was not there, right there with me counting the money,
Right.
I go, okay, there's $500 to the side for make sure I've got this backup.
Yeah.
Now I could buy whole prescriptions from people. You see?
Right.
Hide them under the seat in my truck. And we made X amount of dollars. Now, Chris, you know, I still broke all the records.
Yeah.
So I still turned in enough to break the records in the books and still was able to buy that. And you know what I mean? I still feel so guilty about that.
Yeah.
It was the worst, man. It's the worst. And I'm not proud of that. I'm not. I'm embarrassed by it. But people around me were not idiots. And plus, because I'm part of these conversations with people about who's got what on the fair lot and I can buy this, a lot of those conversations go back into the person I'm buying the funnel cake from and say, you know, James does X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm.
And now he starts not trusting, maybe. He's never told me this to my face, but maybe he don't trust the numbers I'm turning in, even though I'm breaking the records.
Right.
He still paid off a percentage, so he wishes it was more.
Of course.
Right? So this is just it's a multifaceted, when your doctor, when he first writes this prescription to you, says this is a slippery slope, truer words were never spoken. He doesn't realize the mouthful he just said.
Yeah.
He just heard that at some conference.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And
but that's, we'll get into that, I'm sure,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what you remember, the Pizza Hut days,
Mm-hmm.
and how many times if you worked morning shift as a driver or a cook, whatever, and they had these big orders to hospital, right, all the time. It was one of the offices of the hospital.
Yes.
And it was the fucking drug rips. It was always the drug rips.
Always, yes.
They bought this whole office $200 in pizza or more.
Where we're having to use wheelchairs
to
take huge stacks of pizza and salads and drinks, 2 liters.
All this stuff.
For drug reps.
And it's drug reps. And
that was at the height of it too, buddy.
It was. And that's one thing. Only in America do you see commercials direct to consumer for pills.
Yes.
I don't think that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong for anybody, listeners from other countries, other than, I don't know, I wouldn't imagine, maybe Canada or something, but you don't see that everywhere else. That's not the way it works.
And if you do,
else.
I bet they copied us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's marketed to you.
It is.
Anyway, we'll get into all that, I'm sure. But
yeah. So I just wanted to touch on that. So my family had been going through some things, lost a business, house, and I had gotten back on my feet a little bit, got a job with Google Fiber, and I don't know, I came to this point one day where I decided I needed help. And I know we've gone a little long today, and I want you to know that a lot of you guys may be watching this and going, you know, this is all normal kind of stuff. It gets way worse. We will cover a lot of horrible things. I would not have had a problem saying the things I said on this part 1 at any time. It's the things that you're going to hear in part 2 that, you know, I'm ashamed of deeply and proud of at the same time.
Yeah.
But it gets really heavy. And I just had today was bad enough, but it was kind of a table setter. And do you have any, in the things we've talked about so far, do you have any, are there any kind of questions you might have before we delve into, you know, kind of the real downturn in my life?
I don't think. I mean, I know we've had a few conversations offline here and there, and
Yeah.
you know that, like you said, at this point you're still, you know, I think it's important to emphasize you're living a normal life, you're working, all that
Correct.
stuff. It's
Yes.
just, you know, this habit that you have to keep. And the big thing is, and I can slightly relate, obviously, with, you know, the panic attack thing that I've always had, anxiety stuff since I was 18 years old about running out, but everything revolving around running out. You know,
Yes.
I remember an old friend, and this is not even comparable, but it just reminded me.
That's very similar.
Yeah, no, but I had an old friend who moved out of country, and they were vegan, and you know, not getting into all that, but it was like they had to find a place that had this food accessible before they decided on everything about their life.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. That's, I'm not, you
Yeah,
know
they're
this
not gonna
person
set roots or anything
until,
and that part has to be handled.
that has to be handled.
Yes.
It's one of those type of things. It seems
totally
very
understand.
limiting.
Mm-hmm.
And
It
yeah,
is.
yeah.
There are like you say that like certain jobs I couldn't take if I thought for a second that they were gonna have random drug tests or anything.
Right.
Like I'm okay. I will do my job. I'm fine. But I always had this in the back of my mind. You've got to let me do what I need to do to show up here.
Right.
And then, you
Right.
know, judge me by what happens here, not what happens away from here.
Yeah.
But again, that was a lot of that's the brain that builds over time.
Right.
It starts becoming easier to justify
Yeah.
more and more
Yeah.
and more. And I promise you, if you don't hear anything else that I say, nobody wants to have this monkey on their back.
No.
They do not. They want to be clean. They want to be like they used to be.
Yeah.
And
ironically, they think that that's the way they get there.
Yeah.
You know?
That they do. And until you start noticing this rash of bad things that seem to keep happening, and you play victim over and over and over and over again, and then you're like, wait a minute, the common denominator here is me.
Yeah, right. And I'll definitely, you know, you asked me about questions. I'll definitely want to mention some stuff after you get done with the full story.
Yeah,
about like, you know, doctors and the system and this whole all that stuff for sure. But
I look forward to answering with my perspective
Yeah.
of it, and I'll be as honest as I can. And if any of you guys, in the meantime, do want to throw some questions in there,
yeah,
I'll be
absolutely.
honest.
I think it's
open and
important.
honest.
I know it's a big step. But I think it's important to get it out there. I mean, because a lot of people will relate to this. There's a lot more people than people even know that will relate
That's
to this.
right.
And so get it all out there, all the good, bad, and ugly. And it's not this big. It's a shameful thing, like you said, and I think that's what we're missing in society today. You know, this whole side rant there we won't get into, but you know, shame actually is a good thing in some ways. You realize some things and can change things. But yeah, I think it's important to get that perspective out there. It's not all this like people think. And again, I'm sure some people go out there and just go crazy. They start partying with their kids. They start taking things, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And they just want to be high all the time. But that's not what this is. This is, you know, the majority of people I would imagine is very similar in this situation where it's not about getting high or being stoned, or it's not the people you see on TV, like you said, sitting there like standing up zombies. It's just to maintain this feeling of being normal.
And there's this weird dynamic in our human biology that allows, like, it makes you have to take more.
Yeah.
You cannot take the same. If you're going to be on opiates for an extended period of time, you will have to take more and more and more and more.
I think it's easy for people to say, well, you should have known. You could have just taken Advil or whatever. You don't know that until you had a huge injury
Yeah, it
or
won't
whatever
touch
it is.
nerve pain.
No,
It will not.
no.
But you may know somebody. You yourself may know somebody. Oh, I dealt with this and that and never had to touch it, but good.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you didn't.
Yeah,
have
and
to.
also people are a
You're
lot more
tougher
aware
than
these
I am,
days.
You know.
You know.
Yeah. I have gone the route of trying to buy everything I could over the counter.
Yeah.
And it won't. There's
Yeah,
no
you
way to
can't-
keep yourself from
and,
going
you know,
through withdrawals either.
There's a reason these things were, and you know, at least the some awareness is out there now, but it's still a huge problem. But somebody's profiting from it.
Amen.
Because a lot of times, I bet you know, you could come out with a couple of days for some strong stuff and then go down to regular Advil, you know, but they're not going to give you that.
And I am honestly, I am not trying to brag, because there is this part where if you get addicts or together, it's just like anything else.
Yeah.
What I say, I think a lot of pills,
Right.
you know, that number is, oh, there's nothing.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
right.
I took this, I get it. You know, we all look at it. This is not me bragging when I say the number of pills I take or the milligrams or whatever,
Right.
the dosage. I'm not bragging. I'm just trying to be honest and to give you some kind of idea of, you know, this is not some dude that, you know, just had oral surgery and, you know, took some regular opiates or whatever. No, this was long-term, over a long period of time. My tolerance just kept building and building and building to a point that I thought got a little scary.
Yeah.
It did. It's more than somebody should be prescribed, especially for if they're not dealing with some, you know, terminal cancer or something.
Right. Something major.
Yeah, I can't wait to fill you guys in on the next part, because you'll see where all this was leading up to.
Yeah.
And
we thought this might
gets-
go long. Yeah. But
yeah.
we what are we at, 140 or something, whatever, but we
Yeah.
wasn't sure, so we'll make this episode 74 part 1 and 2 or whatever you want to do. Maybe we release it regular schedule, one a week or whatever, but
That would be cool.
Whatever we
And
gotta do.
We'll see what we got to do. But I anticipate having at least this much more.
Yeah.
Bear with me. I hope I'm not boring you. My goal is to try to help anybody, whether you are the person taking it, to give you hope, or whether you're the person who loves someone who's dealing with it, maybe to give you some insight on another tactic to just love them and help in any way.
I was going to
you
say,
can.
and a little more empathy for people going through something. You just don't know. You don't know. And it's not always this, you know, I think there's this kind of still stigma around this type of thing where it's like on purpose.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, yes, I guess obviously some people, sure, but it's not for the most part.
That's right.
But all right, well, we'll go wrap it up and straight into part 2. And we'll pick up from there. All right, let it fade to black.